The day before the college entrance exam, my mom canceled the hotel I had booked. She thought the room rate was too expensive and insisted on driving me to the test center herself on exam day. Little did I know, there was a severe traffic jam that day, and the entire city's transportation was nearly paralyzed. I was forced to get out of the car and sprint toward the test center, only to be hit by a private car under an overpass and die on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my mom secretly canceled the hotel. As soon as I regained consciousness, a slap landed hard on my face, making my head snap to the side and my glasses shatter on the floor. I stared blankly at the blurry scene before me, a chill slowly creeping up my spine. In my previous life, it all started with this slap too. Back then, I had already booked a discounted exam day room for just 99 yuan. What's more, since starting high school, my scholarships had been enough to cover all my living expenses, and I had never asked my family for extra money. Yet my mom still pointed at me and yelled, calling me a burden to the family, unable to earn money to support the household, yet still spending money on education. She accused me of indulging in luxury, refusing to stay at home and insisting on staying in a hotel like others. She said I was completely blind to my parents' hardships, an ungrateful wretch through and through. I listened as she made a scene at the front desk, humiliating me with her shrill voice in front of everyone, and could only stand there in silence. At the time, I thought that once she had tired herself out from yelling and making a fuss, I would just go home with her. I planned to wake up early the next day and walk to the test center, thinking nothing too bad could really happen. But after her outburst, she suddenly seemed deflated, looking utterly exhausted. As I drove her home on her little electric scooter, she leaned against my back for the first time and sighed softly. "It's your mom's fault. All these years, I've only held you back." That night, she was unusually gentle with me, even handing me a cup of hot milk before bed. This was always a privilege reserved for my brother, Lu Yaozu. I hesitated for a moment and whispered, "Mom, isn't hot milk brother's favorite? Shouldn't we give it to him instead?" Her face instantly turned cold. "Just drink it when I tell you to. Don't be ungrateful. I'm your mother. Would I ever harm you? If it weren't for your college entrance exam tomorrow, would you even deserve hot milk?" I obediently drank the milk. When I woke up the next day, it was already 8:30. My phone alarm had been turned off at some point, and the small alarm clock at the foot of my bed had been moved. I grabbed my backpack and rushed out, only to be stopped by my mother. "What's the hurry? I've already borrowed a car from our neighbor, old Joe. I'll drive you there in a bit." I stared into her eyes and suddenly asked, "Did you turn off the alarm?" Her expression visibly stiffened, but she still tried to defend herself. "I just didn't want you to be too tired, so I let you sleep a little longer." I had no energy to argue with her. I turned and ran outside, planning to ride my electric scooter to the exam center, but it was already 8:35, and even by scooter, it would take half an hour. Fortunately, there was a 15-minute grace period after the exam started. As long as I could make it, there was still a chance. But as soon as I got on the scooter and turned the key, nothing happened. I tried again, but still nothing. I was sweating with anxiety. Just then, my mother slowly walked out of the house, locked the door, and dangled the car keys in her hand, saying triumphantly, "Don't bother, the battery's dead. Don't worry, I've got everything arranged for you." I closed my eyes in despair. For something as important as the college entrance exam, who wouldn't arrive at the test center an hour early? By 8:30, it was already the peak time for parents dropping off their kids to head back, and the roads were undoubtedly jammed. Not to mention, my mom had barely touched the steering wheel since getting her driver's license. Her driving skills were so shaky that avoiding an accident on the road would be a stroke of luck. Sure enough, as soon as the car got onto the overpass, it was stuck in the middle, barely moving 10 meters in a full 10 minutes, but from here to the test center wasn't actually far. Riding a shared e-bike would take just 15 minutes. While my mom wasn't paying attention, I grabbed my backpack and rushed out of the car, but just as I ran down from the overpass, a suddenly accelerating car hit me and sent me flying. So now, as everything started over, I stared blankly at the woman throwing a tantrum in front of me, and a chilling thought finally took full shape. She never wanted me to take the college entrance exam at all. Once this thought surfaced, all the earlier oddities connected into a clear line: the hot milk that wasn't meant for me, the alarm clock turned off ahead of time, the suddenly dead electric scooter, and her insistence on taking the most congested overpass. Recalling what she used to say, old Lee's daughter dropped out of high school to work in an electronics factory, sending home 5,000 a month. the daughter next door to old Joe got married right after high school, and her husband bought her a car, running a shop on the street is the most profitable, all to buy a building for her brother. I understood everything. I pursed my lips, reached out to grab her arm, and pleaded softly, "Mom, please stop making a scene, okay? I promise you, as soon as I get into college, I'll start working right away. I'll earn my own living expenses and won't spend a single cent from the family. My brother isn't married yet, and once I'm in college, I'll take on multiple part-time jobs to help him save up for a wife. Just let me stay here for 2 nights. After the exams, I'll do whatever you say." But as soon as I finished speaking, she swung another slap at me. This time, I took a step back and dodged it. She was panting with rage. "Why do you have to stay in a hotel? Are you seeing someone?" Like a madwoman, she grabbed the pen holder from the front desk and hurled it at me, her words growing uglier by the second. She accused me of not learning to behave at such a young age, of fooling around with some lowlife man outside, and said that she and my father had worked so hard to support my education, not so I could go out and sleep with worthless men. Years of experience arguing with her had taught me that it was best to keep my mouth shut at times like this, otherwise, she would only drag the conversation further and further off track, to the point where you couldn't even fathom how she managed to connect two completely unrelated things. I could only try a different approach. "I'm not seeing anyone. If you're worried, why don't you just stay here with me?" She sneered at me while making a phone call. "Still won't admit it. Fine, I'll call your dad and have him break your legs." I shuddered instinctively and quickly gave in. "Don't call Dad, Mom, I'll go back with you." She immediately became smug, slapped the counter, and said to the front desk, "Did you hear that? Hurry up and refund the money. She's not staying." Just as the front desk was about to nod, a middle-aged man hurried over from behind. I recognized him. He was the father of my desk mate, Fu, and Uncle Fu clearly recognized me too. He smiled at me first, then turned to my mom and said, "Nanan's mom, we met at the parent-teacher conference. You've raised a wonderful daughter. She's always first in everything. Please, do me a favor and let Nan stay at my place. Once the college entrance exam results come out, my hotel can even hang a top scorer sign." My mom was overjoyed by his words. She straightened her back, and a rare look of pride appeared on her face. "Since you put it that way, I suppose she can stay." Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, she immediately added, "But what about the endorsement fee?" Uncle Fu was clearly taken aback. My mom said matter-of-factly, "You said it yourself. Our Nan is a future top scorer. Having her stay at your hotel is an honor for you." Uncle Fu glanced at me, remained silent for a moment, and then said gently, "How about this? From now on, whenever Nan stays at our hotel, it'll be free of charge. What do you think?" My mother, however, was still not satisfied. "It's not enough for just her alone. We put in a lot of effort for her to get to where she is today." Seeing that she was about to make even more outrageous demands, I quickly reached out to pull her back. "Forget it, Mom, you're right. I should just go back home." She shook off my arm and glared at me fiercely. "I might as well have given birth to a piece of roast pork instead of you. You ungrateful thing, I'll teach you a lesson today." Uncle Fu quickly stepped in to stop her. "Let's talk this out calmly. Don't hit the child. How about this? From now on, all 3 of you can stay here for free." Only then did my mother finally seem to have saved enough face. She raised her chin and gestured to the front desk. "Fine, then get us a luxury suite." After my mother went upstairs, I stayed behind specifically to apologize to Uncle Fu and promised that I would find a way to repay him for any unreasonable expenses she incurred at the hotel in the future. Uncle Fu just sighed. "Don't worry about it. Focus on your exams. If your family continues to give you a hard time, come find me." I nodded, but inside, I couldn't help but feel bitter. People like my parents, once they latch onto you, are like blood-sucking vines. They won't let go until they've squeezed out every last drop. By the time I went upstairs, my mother had already called my father Lu Chunsheng and my brother Lu Yaozu over. The father and son were lazily sprawled on the sofa in the luxury suite. My father had his legs crossed, resting his feet on the coffee table, holding a cigar in his hand. He kept sighing. "I have to say, the environment in this big hotel is really different. I've seen this cigar before when I was with the boss, and he wouldn't even let me smoke it. Now I can stay in a luxury suite and smoke cigars too." As soon as I pushed the door open, my mother's gaze swept over me. "What were you doing? Why are you so slow?" I told her honestly. "I helped the front desk clean up the lobby that we messed up." She immediately showed a disdainful expression. "So cheap, You're never this diligent when doing chores at home, but you rush to do the cleaning staff's job when staying in a hotel. My brother, however, was only focused on ordering food. With a wave of his hand, he asked the waiter to bring roasted pigeon, Buddha jumps over the wall, and Arctic shrimp. I couldn't help but remind him, brother, these are too expensive. He immediately glared at me, it's free, what's wrong with me enjoying it? Not long after, a few young people with brightly dyed hair barged in. Lu Yaozu sat right in the middle of the sofa, playing both sides, acting as if he were some big shot. The red-haired guy walked around the suite, his eyes lighting up. Brother Lu, you've made it big, don't forget your buddies in the future. My brother, holding a glass of red wine, shook his head and boasted, that's why I called you all to come and have fun. Order whatever you want to eat, there's billiards, golf, everything's here. The room quickly became filled with smoke and chaos. I had intended to retreat to my room, but a drunk guy with blue hair suddenly threw an arm around my shoulders, clearly out of his mind. He seemed to think this place was no different from the usual spots he frequented and actually reached out to me. All the pent-up frustration, anger, and humiliation from the entire day surged up in an instant. I grabbed a nearby wine bottle and smashed it over his head. The bottle shattered, and the guy slid down the couch, finally regaining a bit of clarity. But despite the commotion, no one in the room seemed to care. Everyone just kept doing their own thing, not a single sober person in sight. My mom was still outside, showing off to everyone. Seeing me standing dazed in the middle of the living room, she casually handed me a cup of warm milk and pushed me into my room, even forgetting to make sure I drank it. Outside the door, she giggled and said, this is our family's long-term suite, feel free to come often. If there's any wine you like, take it home with you later. With a blank expression, I poured the cup of milk into the toilet, pulled out the old flip phone from my previous life, the one my mom had turned off the alarm on, and silently dialed a number. Can you do me a favor? When I pushed the door open to leave, many people had already left outside, with only a few still gathered around the pool table, bragging. Just as I was about to slip away quietly, Lu Yaozu called out to me, where are you going so late at night? Shouldn't you be sleeping? My body stiffened. I absolutely couldn't let them find out I hadn't drunk the milk, otherwise, if they forced it down my throat, I'd really miss the exam tomorrow. Before he could ask any more questions, I quickly said, Dad asked me to get a few bottles of wine from the front desk, and I couldn't get through on the phone. Lu Yaozu, already tipsy, nodded, but his gaze fell on the backpack in my hand. Why are you carrying a backpack to get wine? I forced myself to come up with an excuse. The backpack is for carrying the wine bags, I can't carry that many by myself. He scoffed and pointed at the red-haired guy. You, go downstairs with my sister, with someone following me. There was no way I could ask the front desk if they could find me a small place to stay for the night. At 2 in the morning, there were only a few pedestrians on the street, and the security booth at the exam center had only 2 male guards. Even if I ran out of the private room, where could I go? The red-haired guy followed me closely. After I picked up the wine from the front desk, he still didn't leave, trailing behind me like a loyal dog. I had to pretend nothing was wrong. I still need to order some late-night snacks for them. Why are you following me? He scratched his head and grinned foolishly. I'm just worried about a young girl like you being out alone. I had no choice but to head to the restaurant. Surprisingly, it was still open at this hour, brightly lit with a few scattered customers eating late-night snacks. By the window, a few internet-famous girls in strappy long dresses were taking photos. I hid in a corner, found a table, sat down, and took out my book to review it one more time. Even though my grades had always been good, given that I was living a second life, I was still afraid of making a mistake somewhere. I was fine until I checked my backpack, and then my whole body froze. My exam admission ticket was gone. My face instantly turned pale as I carefully recalled every time I had opened my backpack today, and it turned out I hadn't opened it even once. The only possible place where something could have gone wrong was in the hotel lobby. When my mom was pulling and fighting with me, I immediately rushed to the lobby and asked the front desk and the cleaning staff, but still found nothing. A thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Did my mom take it? If so, it wasn't just about making me drink the medicine or turning off the alarm clock. She really wanted me to completely miss the college entrance exam. When I brought the late-night snack back to the suite, most of the lights in the room were already off, leaving only a mix of blue-purple ambient lights and warm yellow lights flickering. Before I even entered the room, I heard my mom whispering, "Is Nan Nan asleep? We can't afford any mistakes with this. It's 2 million yuan we're talking about." My dad snorted. I handed it To her myself, how could there be a mistake? That girl is so starved for affection. Usually, if you give her an extra glance, she'd practically kneel down for you. With 3 sips of milk, she definitely drank every last drop. My mother, however, was still regretting it. Looking back, I was quite clever. As soon as they suggested letting Nan skip one exam, I agreed right away, not giving them any chance to change their minds. If I had bargained a bit more at the time, maybe it could have been 3 million or 5 million, then we could have lived comfortably for the rest of our lives, right? My father immediately scolded her. This 2 million is for Yaozu to buy a house and get married, don't mess around with it. But tell me, how can someone be so foolish? My mother sighed again, spending 2 million just to secure first place by making someone skip an exam. But rich families' daughters are different from us. Besides, even if Nan misses one exam, her grades would still be enough to get into a decent university, just not Tsinghua or Peking University. We can just coax her later, and I'm sure she'll still bring her earnings home in the future. Standing outside the door, I felt a chill run from head to toe. So that's how it was. No wonder she had been acting so strangely lately. No wonder she had tried every possible way to stop me from taking the exam. In their eyes, I was never their daughter, just a check they could cash at any time, a future top scorer. In the college entrance exam could be sold for 2 million, an ordinary university student could continue earning money for the family later. As for whether my life would be ruined, or whether I might die, they simply didn't care. No one noticed I had returned. I was thinking about how to get my parents out of the way so I could search their room for the exam admission ticket when my phone on the sofa beside me suddenly vibrated. I glanced down and saw a chat log between Lu Yaozu and a girl. Hey, which room are you in? I feel like we've met before. I scrolled up and saw they had been flirting for a while. One wanted his money, the other wanted him. I glanced at the remaining 3,020 yuan in Lu Yaozu's bank card and immediately transferred 3,000 yuan to the girl on his behalf, adding a note, room 1702, waiting for you. Then I went back to my room and pretended to sleep. Before drifting off, I took a deliberate look at the glass that had held the milk. The dried milk residue on the cup's surface was faintly mixed with extremely fine white powder, almost undetectable to the naked eye. As soon as I lay down, the door clicked open. My mother tiptoed in, skillfully picked up my phone, turned off the alarm, and took the glass with her. After the door closed again, I lay in the darkness, watching the seconds tick by with cold detachment. In less than 5 minutes, someone knocked on the door next door. A sweet, girlish voice called out from outside, "Hey, it's me, open up." No one responded the first few times, but on the 5th knock, my mother finally heard the commotion and poked her head out to ask, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The girl was startled and turned to leave. Just then, Lu Yaozu's door swung open, and he roughly pulled her inside, so forcefully that I could hear it clearly through the wall. I picked up my phone and called the police directly. The officers who arrived were the same ones usually responsible for patrolling the hotel area. The front desk wasn't flustered and even proactively pulled up the surveillance footage. The chaotic comings and goings of people in the luxury suite made the officers frown. Officer Zhou, recalling the girl mentioned in the earlier call, turned to the front desk and asked, "Room 1702, right?" The moment the front desk nodded, several patrol officers rushed upstairs. It was truly a large bed, leaving nothing hidden, combined with the glaringly obvious chat records and transfer records between the two. They were taken to the station for questioning on the spot. While my parents were busy pleading with the police, I slipped into their room and rummaged around, eventually finding my exam admission ticket hidden in a compartment of my mother's bag. At 5:30 in the morning, I finally secured the chance to take the exam. As soon as dawn broke, my mother rushed over in tears. "Lu Nan, are you dead? Can't you see your brother is being wronged? Hurry and plead with the police. If he's taken away, what will happen to him in the future?" Then, gritting her teeth, she asked me, "Your brother says he never transferred any money to that woman. Was it you? Why would you harm your brother?" I put on a completely clueless expression and shrank behind Officer Zhou. "I don't know. I was sleeping the whole time." My dad, Lu Chunqing, also grew anxious and cried out to the police. It must have been his friend who transferred the money by mistake when they were hanging out here earlier. My son would never do something like this. The girl squatting in the corner couldn't hold back any longer and let out a cold laugh. "Are you insane? I was the one chatting with him. How could I not know? I've seen plenty of lustful men, but this is the first time I've seen one who needs his parents to beg for mercy after soliciting sex." I recognized her as the young woman who was taking photos at the restaurant last night. her hair was disheveled now, and her spaghetti-strap dress was torn at the shoulder, yet she looked even more striking than she had during her carefully posed shots the night before. Lu Yaozu, on the other hand, kept his head lowered the entire time, as if his soul had been kicked out of him. When the girl spoke up, my mom was so furious she lunged forward to slap her, but my dad held her back tightly. Stop making a scene, the most important thing right now is figuring out how to keep Yaozu from being detained. As he spoke, my dad rummaged through his wallet and checked his bank card balance, only to find he had just 4,000 yuan left. Rubbing his hands together nervously, he cautiously tugged at Officer Zhou's sleeve. I know the law. In cases like this, a 5,000 yuan bail is enough. I'll give you 1,500 now and get the rest from the bank. Could you please let my son go? Officer Zhou sneered coldly. This is administrative detention, not the kind of thing you can just pay to settle. Also, both of you need to come with us to assist in the investigation. My mother immediately turned around and ordered me, didn't you hear? Grab your things and go to the police station. I calmly looked at Officer Zhou and said, I have the college entrance exam this morning. Officer Zhou nodded. Special circumstances call for special measures. You can go take the exam first, and just come back afterward to provide a statement. But my mother suddenly widened her eyes and lunged at me like a madwoman. No, she can't go. Her brother is suffering so much, and she still has the heart to take the college entrance exam. She's not allowed to go. She rushed over to grab me, and when she couldn't reach me, she burst into tears, crying uncontrollably. Nan, I've given birth to you and raised you all these years, and I've never done you any harm. I'm begging you just this once, don't go to the exam. Okay, if you don't go, I'll give you 100,000 yuan. You can retake the exam later or do something else. Just go to the police station today to keep your brother company. He's still young, and he'll be scared at the police station. Her words left everyone present dumbfounded. Even the young lady couldn't help but scold. You're not afraid of your son being arrested for soliciting prostitution, but you're trying to force your daughter to skip the college entrance exam. Even if you can't distinguish between what's important and what's not, how can you favor your son over your daughter to this extent? Have you no shame? My mother immediately spat in her direction and started cursing. I suddenly spoke up, Mom, stop cursing. Both she and my father instantly fell silent, thinking I was finally going to give in, and looked at me with hopeful expressions. But I said word by word, I won't go to the police station with you, and I definitely won't miss the exam. I know why you want me to give up the college entrance exam. You want to trade me for that 2 million yuan to buy a house and get a wife for Lu Yaozu? Dream on. My father's eyes instantly turned venomous. You knew? I sneered. I've known from the very beginning. So, how does it feel to be poor all your life and watch 2 million slip through your fingers? I stared at Lu Chunqing, my voice growing colder and colder. Did it feel good when you slammed my head against the iron railing? Did it feel good when you tore my clothes in front of my classmates? Lu Chunqing, admit it. You're nothing but scum, the filthiest rat in the sewer. Not even fit to lick someone's shoes. His eyes instantly turned red. He violently broke free from the police officer, grabbed a wine bottle, and hurled it at me. Fortunately, Officer Zhou reacted quickly, shielding my head with one hand and kicking him away with the other. I peeked out from under his arm and calmly asked, assaulting an officer and obstructing official duties, how long can that get you? Officer Zhou couldn't help but laugh at my audacity. I know you hate them, but you can't risk your life like this. Yet, looking at my father's expression, as if he wanted to swallow me whole, I felt like laughing instead. In this family, Lu Chunqing was the most dangerous one. Sending him away first would make my future a little less risky. 2 days later, as soon as I walked out of the exam hall after finishing the college entrance exams, I saw Uncle Fu standing at the entrance holding a huge bouquet of flowers. He handed the flowers to me with a gentle smile. Nan, I wish you a bright future ahead. Watching the other students receive flowers and hugs from their parents, tears suddenly welled up in my eyes. It wasn't that I had never longed for these things, it was just that I had never received them before. Uncle Fu took me back to the hotel and added, come back with Fu and tonight. I was taken aback and quickly said I didn't want to cause him any more trouble, adding that I would definitely repay the money my parents had spent at the hotel in the future. Uncle Fu waved his hand dismissively, don't worry about that for now. Do you have a plan for your university tuition and living expenses? Come intern at the hotel, and I'll pay you. It's not out of pity, it's just that Fuan actually listens to you. You can help keep an eye on him and stop him from running around all the time. Of course, I understood his kindness, but he didn't know that I hadn't been defeated. On the contrary, All of this was just the beginning of my reckoning. I deliberately went back to school and intercepted my mother. Outside the teacher's office, she was crying and begging the teacher not to issue me a graduation certificate, saying I was malicious, that I had gotten my brother and father arrested, and that I was a menace to society. I didn't argue with her. Instead, I took out my phone and showed her the records of my father's money transfers and hotel bookings for another woman, one by one. Mom, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're being too impulsive. My brother will be released in a few days, but Dad has been cheating on you for a long time, spending all this money on another woman behind your back. For his sake, you're willing to abandon your only daughter, the one who could take care of you in your old age. What do you think his intentions are? My mother's fingers clenched tighter and tighter, her face turning pale. Impossible. Your father isn't that kind of person. I calmly gave her the address. Unit 1901. New Land Garden. That woman's son is already 3 years old. And the apartment was bought outright. There's even a photo of Dad and her hanging inside. If you don't believe me, go see for yourself. She really went. She followed that woman, and when she saw the little boy who looked almost exactly like my dad, she broke down on the spot. She rushed forward and scratched the mistress's face, then grabbed a hammer and charged into the house, smashing all the appliances to pieces. As she smashed, she cried and shouted, saying it was all her husband's money. As she cursed, she tore down the bed photos on the wall, shouting to everyone to go back and keep an eye on their own men, so they wouldn't be seduced by vixens from outside. The police arrived quickly, and it was Officer Zhou again, breaking and entering, intentional destruction of property, intentional assault. My mom didn't miss a single charge. When she was taken away, she still yelled at the top of her lungs, saying I was the one who gave her the address, so I was also responsible. I stood behind the crowd, poked my head out, and said in an extremely innocent tone, Mom, I just told you the truth. I didn't expect you to go in and start smashing things. Didn't I call the police right away? She was so angry she almost fainted, pointing at me, unable to even curse out a complete sentence. After that, I practically became a regular at the police station. Other family members came to ask about bail or how to reduce sentences. I came only to tell the truth, never causing trouble for the people's police. When I walked out of the station, Fuan was actually waiting for me at the door with a handful of pomelo leaves, earnestly sweeping them over me, saying he wanted to ward off my bad luck. I almost laughed out loud. Uncle Fu glared at him from the side. If you don't know how to talk, then talk less. The most important thing for a man is his attitude. Do you understand? On the day the college entrance exam results came out, the media almost completely blocked the hotel entrance. When everyone found out I wasn't the young master, just a hotel employee who was the top scorer in the college entrance exam, they were all stunned. A reporter asked me, "Where are your parents, siblings?" I replied calmly, "All 3 of them are in jail." The reporter had originally intended to use parental education as a talking point, suggesting that today we probably wouldn't learn how to raise a top scorer in the college entrance exam. I immediately countered, "Are you implying that my success is entirely due to my parents' education? If education alone could determine everything, then everyone in the world should be a literary genius. Every individual is unique. If my parents were truly such great educators, why did my brother and they end up in the same situation?" Lu Yaozu had already been detained for 15 days at that point, unshaven but still defiantly questioning why I had treated our parents that way. I looked at him and coldly told everyone, from childhood, he would dunk my head in the toilet for fun, and my parents praised him for being strong. When he failed the high school entrance exam, the family forced me to give up my guaranteed admission spot for him. I was able to finish high school peacefully only through scholarships and part-time jobs, and I even had to hand over the money to the family. In the end, they still tried to ruin my college entrance exam, trading me for 2 million yuan to buy him a house and get him married. At this point, I directly presented the evidence I had gathered to the camera. The Lin father and daughter had bribed my parents in an attempt to make me miss the college entrance exam, because it was a live broadcast. The reporter didn't dare to air unverified content, but I wasn't afraid. I recounted every detail, one by one. Since someone wanted to fulfill their daughter's dreams by ruining another person's life, they shouldn't blame me for exposing everything to the light. As soon as the incident broke, the Lin father and daughter were quickly thrust into the spotlight. Lin Group's stock price plummeted, and Mr. Lin was soon removed from his position as CEO of the group. My appeal was finally supported. Even though they didn't actually ruin my college entrance exam in this lifetime, they still had to pay the price for their choices later. Father Lin still wanted to send someone to reconcile with me, but they were all turned away by the hotel staff. I was busy with my internship at the hotel, helping write small programs and develop apps, while also finding time to keep an eye on Fu. And to make sure he didn't sneak off to the mountains for camping again without a word. But some people never give up. That day, in the blink of an eye, I lost sight of Fu and Lu Yaozu found me first, clutching a dagger, his eyes wild. He said, Nan, don't blame me, blame that Lin guy. He gave me 2 million to make you disappear. Why does a poor girl like you have to stand in the way of a young lady's future? As he spoke, he lunged at me. I couldn't dodge in time, and my arm was slashed. The next second, a scream echoed as Fu, seemingly out of nowhere, kicked the dagger away and pinned Lu Yaozu firmly to the ground. The police arrived quickly, clutching my wound. I gave Fu a bitter smile. Your pomelo leaves aren't working either. This is my 4th time at the police station. He was furious but kept his hands steady, pressing on my wound to stop the bleeding. When we get back, I'll have my dad replace all the trees in the hotel with pomelo trees. Let's see who dares to touch you then. On the day I received my acceptance letter from Tsinghua University, Father Lin was formally detained. Fu and I went to Beijing together. Before leaving, I felt a bit reluctant to part with Uncle Fu, but Fu held my hand and said with a playful grin, "Don't worry, my family has chain hotels in Beijing too. My dad's already there waiting for us." At this point in the story, I finally understood one thing: people don't have to wait for someone to save them in order to survive. Some justice should be reclaimed bit by oneself. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My husband doesn't have a driver's license, yet he insists on driving up the mountain road, with our 2 children in the car. How could I possibly let them be in danger? I desperately tried to stop my husband, but all I got in return was being beaten by our children and dragged by him. I took my last breath in despair. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the moment when my husband fought me for the steering wheel. This time, I won't stop him. Click. A burning pain spread across my face as I opened my eyes. You worthless piece of trash. Stop the car for me. Don't think you're something special just because you have a driver's license. I'm telling you, even if I've never driven a car before, I'd still drive better than you. Zhao Erjun cursed at me, his breath reeking of a foul mix of smoke and alcohol. I was in a daze until a mouthful of spit landed on my face, and only then did I snap back to reality. I had been reborn on the day my husband tried to grab the steering wheel from me. Thinking of the pain from my previous life, being beaten by my own children and dragged behind the car by my husband, I shuddered, immediately pulled over to the side of the road, and let go of the steering wheel. You're right, Erjun. Men have a better sense of direction than women. You drive. With that, I unbuckled my seatbelt and started to get out of the car. A smug smile spread across Zhao Erjun's face. Damn woman, wouldn't it have been better if you had done this earlier? He didn't get out of the car but moved from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. The daughter in the back seat was also muttering, "If you had just listened earlier, it would have saved you from my dad slapping you." The son rolled his eyes impatiently. "Mom, can you hurry up and get in the car? It's a mountain road that should take an hour to walk, but you've been dragging your feet for 2 hours already." It was a gloomy, rainy day. I got out of the car, and not one of the father and his 2 sons offered me an umbrella. Instead, they all looked at me with resentment. Let's not even talk about Zhao Erjun, who was addicted to gambling and violent toward me, but even the 2 pieces of flesh that came from my own womb treated me this way. The last bit of warmth left in my heart completely vanished. What does it matter? If they are your own children, if they treat you poorly, then they are just 2 ungrateful beasts. I took a deep breath and made up my mind. I'm not going. You all go ahead. As soon as the words were spoken, Zhao Erjun slammed the steering wheel hard. The car horn blared sharply twice from the pounding. Zhao Erjun shouted angrily, "Lu Jinji, what do you mean by that? You're deliberately opposing me, aren't you?" My daughter also furrowed her brows, her face full of impatience. While dressing the plush toy rabbit, she pouted and said to me, "Mom, that's enough. Didn't Dad already apologize to you? Why are you still holding a grudge, acting like a resentful woman? No wonder my dad always hits you. You totally deserve it." The son scrambled into the passenger seat, leaned over to operate the car's screen a couple of times, and locked the doors. "If she doesn't want to get in, then don't. It's not like we're begging her. Dad, hurry up and drive. Don't keep Grandpa and Grandma waiting." I listened. Even though I no longer wanted to deal with them, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. it was summer vacation, and Zhao Qingguang and Zhao Qingmei insisted on going to our grandparents' house in the mountains, but I was tied up with the business at the clothing store and couldn't get away. Zhao Urjin agreed, but he couldn't drive and was unwilling to hire a car to go to the countryside. Seeing that I wouldn't personally drive them into the mountains, Zhao Urjin beat me up. It was only after my children pleaded with me that I reluctantly reconciled with Zhao Urjin and drove them into the mountains. Now, halfway along the road, they seem to have forgotten how they begged me back then. I said, I'm not going. If you want to go, the three of you can go on your own. After saying that, I took a deep breath, tightened my thin clothes, and turned around to head back to the service station. The road was slippery in the rain, and even with 10 years of driving experience, I didn't dare to drive too fast on such a steep mountain road. Since Lu Urjin was so confident, I decided to let him go. If anything happened, it had nothing to do with me. Who would have thought? Had just taken 2 steps when the sound of a car door opening echoed from behind me. Zhao Urjin, draped in a raincoat, stepped out of the car and rushed toward me. Lu Jinji, are you itching for another beating? His face flushed red, and he threw a punch right at my face. I was prepared, all these years. Whenever he hit me, he always started with his left fist. I took a step back, letting his punch miss, then threw a right hook straight at his eye. I've been loading and unloading clothes for years, and with that one punch, I made Zhao Urjin immediately cover his eye. You bitch, how dare you hit me? I hit him exactly because of that. My right hand trembled slightly. This was the first time I had ever hit him in 2 lifetimes combined. It turns out hitting someone feels so satisfying, no wonder. Whenever I slightly displeased Zhao Urjin, he would resort to beating me. Watching him cover his eyes and howl in pain, I sneered inwardly. He really can't take a hit. When he used a stick to break my leg back then, I didn't make a sound. I couldn't help but stick out another foot, tripping him to the ground. Watching him roll around in the muddy water, I let out a hearty laugh and continued on my way. Dad, the car doors thumped twice, likely meaning the children had gotten out of the car. I didn't look back. If they want to follow Zhao Urjin to their deaths, then so be it. I was thinking this when a sharp pain shot through the back of my head. I turned around to see Zhao Qingguang standing in front of me, holding a badminton racket. Clutching my head, I slapped him backhanded. Zhao Qingguang, are you crazy? Are you trying to kill me, you despicable creature? Zhao Qingguang was struck dumb, the feather duster falling from his hand. From childhood to adulthood, I have never laid a finger on him. No matter what happened, I always coaxed and indulged him, yet he actually turned his hand against me. Zhao Qingguang's face flashed with guilt. Mom, what about me? My daughter stepped forward when she saw this. She picked up the badminton racket from the ground and swung it at my head. What's wrong with hitting you? You're just asking for it. How dare you lay a hand on my dad? I dodged quickly, but Zhao Qingguang lunged over and grabbed hold of me. Bang, bang, bang. I don't know how many times I was hit on the head. Out of the corner of my eye, I only saw the shaft of the badminton racket break. My head hurt terribly, and red liquid mixed with rainwater flowed down from the top of my head. When Zhao Urjin was hitting me, I didn't see them try to stop him at all. When I hit Zhao Urjin back, they turned around and attacked me instead. Once again, I felt a wave of regret for having given birth to these 2 wicked beasts. This scene was all too similar to my past life. The fear of death loomed in my mind. I knelt on the ground with a thud. Stop hitting Mom. Mom knows she was wrong. The 2 children exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming with triumph. That look was exactly the same as the one Zhao Urjin gave me when I begged for mercy. What did you do wrong? Zhao Qingguang and Zhao Qingmei asked simultaneously. My fingers dug into the soil. Their questioning was exactly the same as Zhao Urjin's. Why hadn't I noticed it before? I took a deep breath. I was wrong for hitting your father, and wrong for throwing a tantrum and refusing to get in the car. That's more like it. Zhao Qingmei retracted the badminton racket. Apologize to your dad and get in the car. I gritted my teeth inwardly and kowtowed to Zhao Urjin. I'm sorry, husband, I was wrong. Zhao Urjin was accustomed to my actions. He walked over and kicked me. Bitch, get in the car. The violence finally stopped. I got into the car and gave Zhao Urjin an ingratiating smile. Honey, shall I teach you how to drive? Zhao Urjin's face showed displeasure. He cares most about his reputation. Once, I suggested getting a divorce. He threatened me with the children, saying divorce was too shameful, and if I dared to divorce him, he would kill both me and our 2 children. For the sake of the child, I have endured humiliation and carried this burden until now. Sensing his displeasure, I quickly changed my approach. Honey, it's not that I doubt your driving skills, I just think that the roads are slippery in the rain. Watch how I handle it, so you can drive even better. This Explanation please Zhao Erjun, the car is a manual transmission. I demonstrated for Zhao Erjun, intentionally using my left foot to press the clutch and my right foot to press the brake, making it seem like the left foot alone controlled both the clutch and the brake. Is this all I need to learn? You women are just too timid. Zhao let out a scoff, indicating he had learned his lesson. He pushed me aside and sat back in the driver's seat. The moment the clutch engaged, I hugged my stomach tightly. No, I need to take a shit. I want to get off the car, you damn, lazy donkey, always needing to piss and shit when it's time to work. Zhao Erjun raised his hand again. The son said impatiently, forget it, Dad, just let her get off, you can drive the car anyway. My daughter chimed in, yeah, Dad, what if he poops in the car? That would be disgusting. Zhao Erjun nodded after hearing this and told me to get out of the car. Without another word, I grabbed a raincoat, threw it over myself, and got out of the car. I had just taken a few steps back when the car started moving. Watching the car swerve and speed along the narrow mountain road, I stood by the roadside and smiled. I turned and began walking down the mountain. The wound on my head throbbed with pain, but I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Near the service station, I could finally hail a taxi. I took out my phone, called a ride-hailing car, and entered the county hospital. The doctor was startled when he saw my injury. You need to be hospitalized for observation, I nodded, and after the wound on my head was bandaged, I went through the hospitalization procedures. By the time I lay in the hospital bed, it was already dark outside. I turned on my phone, intending to call Zhao Erjun to ask how things were going, but the moment I opened my phone, an automatically popped up local trending news story caught my attention. Breaking news. Landslide on mountain road, multiple vehicles buried. I clicked in and found a reporter broadcasting live from the scene. In the footage, a mudslide had washed away half of the mountain road. A familiar black SUV was crushed under a massive boulder, with only half of its rear end visible. Rescuers are using hydraulic pliers to pry open the car door. According to eyewitnesses, 2 men and 1 woman were trapped inside the car. The camera zooms in. Zhao Erjun, his face covered in blood, was carried out. He was frantically pointing inside the car, shouting something at the top of his lungs. 2 rescuers were struggling to pull someone out from the deformed back seat. In the shot, I saw Zhao Qingmei trapped between the seat and a rock, her right leg mangled and bloody. Zhao Qingguang, on the other hand, was pinned by the airbag but appeared to have sustained lighter injuries. We can only save one first, the rescue team leader shouted loudly. Zhao Erjun pointed at his son without hesitation. Save my son. Save my son first. As the words fell, I instinctively searched for the camera angle of my daughter. In the lower right corner of the lens, my daughter's expression was contorted. She stared at Zhao Erjun with a face full of resentment, the venom in her eyes almost materializing to pierce through the screen. I turn off my phone. It's time to turn off the lights, the nurse reminded. I lay in the hospital bed and fell asleep. I slept particularly soundly that night. When I woke up, it was already daylight. I turned on my phone and saw over 30 missed calls. All of them were from Zhao Erjun. As soon as the phone powered on, another call came in. Lu Jinji, where the hell have you been? Get your ass to the city center hospital right now. Zhao Erjun's roar made my eardrums ache. What happened? Why are you in the hospital? I pretended not to know and asked. He didn't explain, only cursed frantically. I grew impatient listening and, after asking which ward he was in, hung up the phone directly. After leisurely getting up and having a meal, I hailed a taxi and headed to the city center hospital. When I pushed open the door to the ward, Zhao Erjun was lying on the bed by the window, his left arm in a cast and his left leg also in a cast, suspended in midair. His son, Zhao Qingguang, sat by the bed playing with his phone, a bandage wrapped around his head. On the innermost bed, Zhao Qingmei looked pale, her right leg bound in a cast and suspended in midair. Mom. Zhao Qingmei burst into tears the moment she saw me. Dad chose my brother. My legs. My legs are ruined. Her tears fell in large drops, her voice filled with grievance and resentment. I pretended to be shocked and walked over, taking her hand, squeezing out 2 tears from my eyes. How could this happen? If I had known, Mom would have taken you off the car even if it meant being beaten to death by you. My poor daughter. I cried out with all my might. Zhao Qingmei's hand, which I was holding, stiffened. She must be thinking about hitting me with the badminton racket now. I sneered inwardly. Zhao Erjun impatiently cut me off. What are you howling about? Our son is the family's heir. Isn't it only right to save him? Go and handle the transfer procedures for me. This lousy hospital doesn't even have a private bathroom. I looked at his arm in a cast and softly changed the subject. What did the doctor say? A comminuted fracture. I'll need to rest for 6 months. Zhao Erjun said with a look of irritation. Damn it, the car's totaled, and I don't even know who to go after for the medical expenses. It was just a fracture. I felt a bit disappointed. I was about to comfort Zhao Erjun with a few words. Zhao Qingmei grabbed my hand and screamed sharply, Mom, don't bother with him. Can you take me to a big hospital for treatment? The doctor said that if I go to a big hospital, my leg can be saved. As soon as these words were spoken, Zhao Erjun suddenly flew into a rage. Bullshit. Tens of thousands in medical bills, all for your worthless leg, dream on. Zhao Erjun slammed his hand on the bed. Zhao Qingmei's face instantly turned as pale as paper. She stared at Zhao Erjun in disbelief, her lips trembling. Dad, my leg can be cured. Cure what? Zhao Erjun spat angrily. This money must be saved for your brother's college and marriage. You're just a girl. If you're lame, you're lame. You'll belong to someone else's family sooner or later anyway. As soon as the words were spoken, Zhao Qingmei choked up, tears streaming down her face in an instant. She no longer looked at Zhao Qingguang. Noticing his sister's gaze, Zhao Qingguang, who had been playing with his phone with his head down, looked up. He gave an awkward laugh. Yeah, sis, we can't just spend all the family's money on you alone, can we? Zhao Qingmei froze, even forgetting to cry. Zhao Qingguang, when you fell into the river as a child, it was me who jumped in, holding onto my brother with one hand and grabbing a tree root with the other. Waiting for the adults to come, Zhao Qingguang exclaimed. So what? I think Dad is right. You'll be married off sooner or later anyway. After saying that, he continued to lower his head and play with his phone. Zhao Qingmei's tears had already soaked her face. She suddenly turned to me and grabbed the hem of my clothes. Mom, please take me to a big hospital. I don't want to be a cripple, I sneered inwardly, but on the surface, I gently stroked her hair. Good child, Mom will get you treated. Mom will ask the doctor right away about how to go through the transfer procedures. After saying that, I pushed her away and turned to walk out of the corner of my eye. I saw Zhao Erjun's face turn ashen as I passed his hospital bed. He suddenly sat up, grabbed my hair, and slapped me hard across the face. Lu Jinji, you dare touch my money and see what happens. Believe it or not, I'll beat you to death right now. I staggered backward, covering my face, and deliberately shouted loudly, Husband, please stop hitting me. I won't transfer hospitals anymore. Only then did Zhao Erjun reluctantly stop. Through the gaps between my fingers, I saw Zhao Qingmei's eyes flashing with deep-seated hatred. Late at night, I helped Zhao Qingmei to the bathroom. In the narrow bathroom, she suddenly lowered her voice and said, Mom, divorce Dad. I pretended to be surprised. Silly child, what are you talking about? She anxiously pulled out her phone from the pocket of her hospital gown and pulled up several videos. I have proof. Look, this is what I secretly filmed last year when he hit you, and this, she swiped to the next clip, it's a video of him checking into a hotel with that vixen from outside. I recorded it all. I was a little surprised. It turned out that the daughter knew about Zhao Erjun's affair. Then why didn't she tell me earlier? I felt increasingly cold-hearted. All this time, I had endured Zhao Erjun's torment for her sake. Zhao Qingmei, what a good daughter you are. I gently hugged her. Good child, Mom will find a way. I definitely won't let you become crippled. Can you give the video to Mom? Zhao Qingmei excitedly forwarded the video. Mom, can you make Zhao Erjun leave with nothing? I nodded. She tugged at my sleeve again, acting coquettishly. Mom, after the divorce, you'll use all the money to treat my leg, right? I sneered inwardly, but on the surface, I showed a troubled expression. And what about your brother, Mom? Don't worry about that ungrateful wretch, Zhao Qingmei said through gritted teeth. We both saw it when Dad cheated. I wanted to tell you, but he wouldn't let me. He said, what man doesn't have a wandering eye? Besides, Mom looks like that. I pondered for a long time and finally, under Zhao Qingmei's persistent urging, nodded in agreement. Fine, divorce, but not with your brother. All the money Mom gets will go to you. Zhao Qingmei finally smiled. Back in the hospital room, I looked at Zhao Qingguang sleeping soundly, planning my next move in my mind. Zhao Erjun was snoring on the hospital cot, completely unaware that his most beloved daughter had become the sharpest knife aimed at him. Early the next morning, Zhao Erjun was called to the doctor's office. I walked to the hospital entrance, took out my phone, and dialed a number I hadn't contacted in a long time. Lawyer Zhang, it's me. I have new evidence regarding the divorce. A week later, Zhao Erjun and Zhao Qingguang were discharged from the hospital. Neither of them sustained serious injuries. Zhao Erjun only had a fractured right arm, while Zhao Qingguang suffered nothing more than a mild concussion. As I was leaving the hospital entrance, Zhao Urjin glared at me fiercely. Tell Zhao Qingmei to forget about transferring to another hospital. After she's discharged, she shouldn't go to university either, just find a vocational school to study casually, and then get married. I didn't say anything. After seeing him off, I returned to the ward. As soon as I entered the ward, I heard the doctor say to Zhao Qingmei, "We can only provide conservative treatment for you now. You should go to a larger hospital for surgery as soon as possible, otherwise your leg really won't be saved." After saying this, the doctor turned and left. Upon hearing this, Zhao Qingmei immediately burst into tears in front of me. "Mom, did you hear that? The doctor said if I don't transfer to another hospital for treatment, my leg will really be useless." I walked over and gently wiped away her tears. My heart aching for her, I know, and I want to take you to a major hospital as soon as possible, but the money is all with your dad. Then get a divorce quickly. Zhao Qingmei grabbed my wrist, her nails almost digging into my flesh. "Mom, didn't you say you contacted a lawyer?" I pretended to hesitate. "But, no buts," Zhao Qingmei screamed hysterically. "Do you want to see me become a cripple?" I quickly hugged her and agreed. "All right, Mom will divorce your dad right away." After saying that, I dialed lawyer Zhang's number right in front of her. 3 days later, the divorce agreement was delivered to Zhao Urjin. According to Attorney Zhang, the moment Zhao Urjin received the agreement, he nearly assaulted her. Attorney Zhang advised me to be careful. I thanked her for her kindness, but I had other plans in mind. "Lu Jinji, you're fucking looking for death." When Zhao Urjin stormed into the ward leaning on his cane, I was peeling an apple for my daughter. He yanked me up from the stool and raised his hand to hit me. "Dare to divorce me, believe it or not, I'll beat you to death right now." I grabbed his fractured right hand. "Ah," Zhao Urjin cried out in pain. "Let go." I yanked him around, driving my knee hard into the small of his back. Zhao Urjin stumbled and fell to the ground, his cast-covered arm hitting the bedpost with a sharp crack. My hand, he wailed, curled up on the ground. Zhao Qingmei, lying on the hospital bed, looked at him and sneered coldly. "Serves you right, you were abusive and unfaithful. My mom should have divorced you long ago." Zhao Urjin's movements froze. He slowly turned his head to look at his daughter, a flicker of realization flashing in his eyes. "Is it you, this worthless girl, causing trouble?" "Yes, it's me." Zhao Qingmei's face twisted with a perverse sense of satisfaction. "I've had enough of you, you old fool who favors sons over daughters." Zhao Urjin's expression instantly turned ferocious. He lunged towards the hospital bed, his hands tightly gripping Zhao Qingmei's neck. "I'm going to strangle you, you ungrateful wretch, today." "Stop." I pretended to panic and tried to pull him away, having already placed the fruit knife on the corner of the cabinet next to Zhao Qingmei earlier. Zhao Qingmei's face had already turned a deep shade of purple. Her hands fumbled wildly, finding the knife handle. "Die." A cold glint flashed, and Zhao Urjin let out a muffled groan. Zhao Qingmei frantically pulled out the knife and stabbed several more times. You all." Zhao Urjin staggered backward and finally collapsed with a heavy thud. I trembled as I pressed the call button, a cold sneer in my heart. Perfect, even the fingerprints will only be Zhao Qingmei's. When the nurses and doctors rushed in, Zhao Qingmei was still screaming hysterically. "He tried to kill me, he was going to kill me." I rushed over and hugged her, whispering softly in her ear, "Don't be afraid, Mom will testify for you." Zhao Qingmei buried herself in my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. The blood-stained fruit knife clattered to the ground. "Mom, I killed someone, what should I do?" She trembled all over, crying and screaming uncontrollably. I gently patted her back to comfort her. "Don't be afraid, Mom will talk to your dad properly. You're just a child, and he's an adult. How could he possibly hold a grudge against you? Besides, you're his own daughter. Do you really think he would let you go to jail?" As soon as the words were spoken, Zhao Qingmei's face instantly turned pale. "But Mom," Zhao Urjin tried to strangle me. "He will definitely put me in jail." I cupped her tear-streaked face. "Silly child, how could Mom ever let you go to jail? At worst, when agreeing to the divorce, I'll give your dad a larger share of the money." I deliberately pursed my lips with difficulty. "Mom can lend you money to treat your leg." "Mom." Zhao Qingmei hugged me even tighter. She leaned on my shoulder, clutching the hem of my clothes tightly as if grasping a lifeline. "I'll go check on your dad." I gently pushed her away, turned around, and walked out of the hospital room. The red light outside the operating room lit up. I dialed Zhao Qingguang's number. "Your dad had an accident, come to the hospital quickly." Half an hour later, Zhao Qingguang rushed into the corridor, panting heavily. "Mom, what happened to Dad?" your sister accidentally hurt your father. I hesitated, then added, go keep her company. Zhao Qingguang's expression changed. How was he injured? It was during an argument. Accidentally stabbed, I deliberately spoke vaguely. He pushed me aside abruptly and rushed toward the hospital room. I walked slowly behind, hearing the fierce argument coming from inside. Are you crazy, daring to attack Dad? Zhao Qingguang's roar came through the door. He deserved it, Zhao Qingmei screamed. He abandoned me to save you, and he even tried to strangle me. Bullshit, how could Dad possibly choke you? You must have pissed him off again. Leaning against the wall, I listened to the sound of things being smashed inside and the vicious curses, curling the corner of my mouth. How familiar those words sound back when I was being beaten and scolded by Zhao Erjun. Zhao Qingguang used to say the same thing. Mom, you must have made Dad angry. Now, Zhao Meiqing has also tasted this bitterness. I turned around and left this place. 2 hours later, the light in the operating room finally went out. When Zhao Erjun was wheeled out, I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. His face was as pale as a corpse, with tubes inserted all over his body. Family members can go in to see him, but don't wake him up. The nurse wheeled him into the ICU and reminded them. I stayed by the sickbed, watching the numbers flickering on the monitor. Zhao Qingguang also came in and stayed with me, keeping watch over his father. After a night, Zhao Erjun's eyelids fluttered. Erjun, you're awake. I pretended to be pleasantly surprised, and tears came as soon as I spoke. Zhao Erjun's lips twitched, as if he wanted to say something. I didn't have the patience to listen, so I directly grabbed his hand and said with a trembling voice, Honey, you can't call the police. Qingmei is still young. She didn't mean it. Please don't call the police. Yes, call the police, Zhao Erjun said weakly. The beast, jail. I fell to my knees beside the bed with a thud. Please, for my sake, don't call the police. After all, she is our daughter. Zhao Erjun shook his head with difficulty. At that moment, Zhao Qingguang took out his phone. Dad, I'm calling the police right now. No, I lunged forward to snatch the phone. She's your own sister. Zhao Qingguang shoved me away. When she stabbed my dad, why didn't she think about him being her own father? I fell to the floor, watching Zhao Qingguang dial 911, my heart bursting with joy. The wail of sirens grew louder. Approaching from a distance, 3 police officers quickly entered the hospital room, with the leading officer flashing his badge. Zhao Qingmei, please cooperate with our investigation. Zhao Qingmei trembled all over, clutching the hem of my clothes tightly. I patted the back of her hands soothingly. Don't be afraid, Mom is here, but the police asked me to leave the hospital room. Zhao Qingmei lay on the bed, trembling with fear. After the police completed the on-site investigation, the attending physician was called in for questioning. I heard them whispering in the hallway. The victim sustained 7 stab wounds, 2 of which damaged internal organs, but considering the suspect's severe leg injury, half an hour later, the officer announced the decision. Given the suspect's special injuries, it has been decided to take the measure of bail pending trial, but an electronic ankle monitor must be worn. After the police finished taking the statement, they left. Upon hearing this news, Zhao Qingguang rushed into the hospital room. What? That's it. He pointed at Zhao Qingmei lying on the hospital bed and roared. She stabbed Dad 7 times, and he's still in the ICU. Why was she only granted bail pending trial? She should be in prison. Zhao Qingguang. Zhao Qingmei suddenly propped herself up. I should have let you drown in the river back then. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Qingguang grabbed the water cup from the bedside and was about to throw it. I rushed forward and slapped him hard across the face. Get out. He covered his face and took 2 steps back, his eyes filled with disbelief. I said coldly, if you keep causing trouble, I'll stop paying for your father's medical expenses. Zhao Qingguang's eyes widened. Mom, I interrupted him. If your father can abandon my daughter, then I can abandon him. Son, it's up to you. Do you want your father to live, or do you want your sister to go to jail? Zhao Qingguang's lips trembled a few times before he slunk away. Zhao Qingmei asked tearfully, Mom, will I go to jail? I sighed and gently stroked her leg in a cast. If only your father had died in the car accident that day, you wouldn't have broken your leg, and this wouldn't have happened. Mom, she suddenly interrupted me, her voice eerily calm. If Dad were to die now, would I still be sentenced? I feigned surprise. What nonsense are you talking about? How could your dad die? Stop thinking such foolish thoughts and go to sleep. When your dad wakes up, I'll talk to him again. Zhao Qingmei said nothing more, turned around, and lay down. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. Late at night, I Heard Zhao Qingmei struggle to get off the hospital bed. The sound of metal crutches tapping on the floor gradually faded away. Early the next morning, the nurse rushed into the ward in a hurry. Mrs. Zhao, your husband's heart has stopped. I panicked and followed the nurse to the ICU, just in time to see the doctor remove the electrocardiogram machine. What happened? I asked with a sob in my voice. The attending physician shook his head regretfully. Initial assessment suggests postoperative pulmonary embolism. I cried for a while, then sent Zhao urgent to the morgue. When I returned to the ward, Zhao Qingmei was staring blankly at the ceiling. I sat on the edge of the bed and gently took her hand. Your father is dead, and Mom will withdraw the police report. Mom has already lost her husband, she can't lose her daughter too. She slowly turned her head, a faint smile appearing on her pale face. Mom, can my leg be cured? Yes, I gently wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. Mom, we'll contact a hospital in the big city right away. Mom has already found out. It will take 500,000 to cure your leg, even though we only have 300,000 at home. Mom will borrow the rest for you. Mom, Dad's compensation. Zhao Qingmei urgently propped herself up. The compensation from the car accident. I showed a look of sudden realization. Right, the insurance company should have paid a lot. But your brother still needs to go to school. Zhao Qingmei's eyes instantly turned cold. At that moment, the ward door was pushed open, and Zhao Qingguang rushed in with red eyes. It's you. It must be you who killed Dad. He pointed at Zhao Qingmei's nose and shouted, murderer. I stood in front of the hospital bed. Stop talking nonsense. The doctor said it was a pulmonary embolism. Then what was she doing in the ICU in the middle of the night? Zhao Qingguang's tears streamed down his face. Last night, when I came back from the bathroom, I saw her walking out of Dad's hospital room. Zhao Qingmei's face instantly turned deathly pale. I shouted loudly, enough, the most important thing right now is to handle your father's funeral arrangements. If you dare to speak nonsense, I won't acknowledge you as my son. Mom, Zhao Qingguang roared angrily and stormed off. Zhao Qingmei watched her son's retreating figure and smiled sweetly. Mom, once my leg is better, shall we go talk to my brother about the compensation? I nodded, giving her a smile in return, thinking to myself that she no longer had a chance to heal her leg. All right, I'll go talk to your brother again, get some good rest. I helped Zhao Qingmei tuck in the blanket. Stepping out of the ward, I dialed Zhao Qingguang's number. Son, where are you? Mom has something to tell you. The morgue, came the muffled reply from the other end of the phone. I need to stay with Dad. As I took the elevator downstairs, I adjusted my expression in the reflection of the metal door. Pushing open the door to the morgue, a wave of cold air mixed with the smell of disinfectant hit me. Zhao Qingguang knelt beside the corpse covered with a white cloth, turning his head sharply at the sound of footsteps. Mom, why won't you let us call the police? He asked hoarsely. It's obvious that sister killed Dad. I didn't answer, gently lifting a corner of the white cloth. Zhao Urgen's pale, bluish face looked like a piece of moldy frozen meat under the cold light, the bruises from his daughter's grip still visible on his neck. Qingguang, I covered the white cloth. You know about your father's affair, don't you? His body stiffened for a moment, and he stammered, how did you know? That's not important. I looked directly into his eyes. What matters is, why didn't you tell me? Zhao Qingguang's eyes flickered. Dad says all men are like that, and anyway, Mom, you wouldn't dare to divorce him. So you and your father have been lying to me together. My voice trembled, and I choked up just right. Now that your father is gone, are you going to drag your sister into this too? Zhao Qingguang fell silent. I continued, I have already lost my husband, and I don't want to lose a daughter as well. I will withdraw the police report. Zhao Qingguang visibly grew angry. Even if my father had an affair, so what? Does that mean he deserved to die? He pushed me away fiercely, snarling, I will definitely call the police. With that, he dashed toward the door. I chased after him for a few steps before stopping, a smile curling at the corner of my mouth. That evening, the two police officers who had come earlier brought Zhao Qingguang to the ward. The officer showed his identification. Hello, Ms. Liu, we need to verify some information regarding Mr. Zhao Urgen's death. Zhao Qingmei fearfully grabbed my arm. I patted her hand reassuringly, then turned to the police with a weary smile. Please, go ahead, your son has accused your daughter of premeditated murder. The police officer opened the record book, and claims that you were aware of it and covered it up. Impossible. I shook my head. Qingmei was acting in self-defense at the time. Her father almost strangled her to death. Mom, Zhao Qingguang suddenly rushed in front of me. You know perfectly well that it was my sister who killed Dad. A look of terror appeared on Zhao Qingmei's face. Tears instantly welled up in my eyes. Qing Guang, how could you make up such a lie, with that? I turned to the police, trembling as I unbuttoned my collar to reveal the bruises on my body. Look, this is from when the child's father hit me before. Qingmei was just trying to protect me. The police exchanged glances. The younger one suddenly asked, Zhao Qingmei, were you in the ICU at 3 o'clock last night? Zhao Qingmei lay on the sickbed, her face deathly pale. I rushed over and hugged her first. How can she go with a broken leg? Qingguang, are you trying to drive the whole family to their graves before you're satisfied? Check the surveillance footage, Zhao Qingguang shouted. If you don't believe me, check the surveillance footage. The two police officers exchanged a glance and went to review the surveillance footage. Zhao Qingmei's face turned deathly pale. She beckoned to Zhao Qingguang with a finger. Come here. What for? Zhao Qingguang asked warily. Come here, and I'll tell you why I killed Dad. Zhao Qingguang walked over with a mix of belief and doubt, lowered his head, and leaned in to listen. I saw Zhao Qingmei curl her lips into a cold smile. She wrapped her arms around the other's neck and reached out to dig her fingers into her brother's eyes. Zhao Qingguang, if you don't want me to have it easy, I won't let you have it easy either. Zhao Qingguang let out a scream. By the time I managed to separate the two of them, Zhao Qingguang's eyes were already vacant. After reviewing the surveillance footage, the police confirmed that Zhao Qingmei had indeed sneaked into the ICU. Late at night, they still took her away. Before leaving, Zhao Qingmei turned to look at me, her eyes filled with pleading. I chased after her to the elevator entrance, crying and shouting loud enough for everyone to hear, Mom will hire the best lawyer for you, don't be afraid. The moment the elevator doors closed, I wiped away my tears. 3 months later, Zhao Qingmei was charged with intentional homicide. During the trial, as her mother, I expressed with deep sorrow that I had no knowledge of the matter, and even tearfully pleaded with the judge for leniency. However, with conclusive evidence, she was sentenced to life imprisonment. As for Zhao Qingguang, because his eyes were gouged out, he was left completely blind. I, heartbrokenly, sent him to a disabled nursing home, paying the minimum monthly fee, leaving him to fend for himself in the darkness. As for me, Zhao Urjin's death compensation, insurance money, and all the family savings fell into my pocket. I sold the house, deleted everyone's contact information, and took the money to a small town in the south. There, I opened a small clothing store, living a peaceful and prosperous life. Occasionally, I think of that pair of children, one rotting in prison, the other going mad in a sanatorium. After all, they brought all of this upon themselves. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. 1. Zichuan was trapped in the burning apartment. I suffered extensive burns all over my body in order to save him. He was deeply moved and told me he would love me forever, so we got married. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I died from a severe infection. Just before I took my last breath, I took one final look at Wen Zichuan, only to notice that he was visibly relieved. A slender, long hand rested on his shoulder. Zichuan, you've sacrificed yourself for her for 3 years, marrying such a woman who is neither human nor ghost. You've done more than enough, don't be sad anymore. When Zichuan grasped this hand and sighed, perhaps this is her fate. These past 3 years have been hard on you. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 2 days before the fire. This time, I chose to respect his fate and let him be with his first love. Inside the KTV private room, when Zichuan's friend was belting out, love till death, at the top of his lungs, everyone around was laughing and joking non-stop. The air conditioning in the room was too strong, and I couldn't help but shiver. I lowered my head to examine my smooth and scathed hands. Not a single finger missing, no ugly scars in sight. Then I quickly took out my phone and turned it on. May 18, 2022, 2 days before the fire. I reached out and touched my own face. How wonderful! I hadn't yet become someone I couldn't bear to look at. When Zichuan, who had been busy taking care of his ex-girlfriend when Chuyue beside him, finally noticed me. He frowned at me, leaned close to my ear, and warned, "What's wrong with you? Why are you crying when we're out having fun? It's not because of Xiaoya, is it? I already told you in advance. Xiaoya sprained her hand while helping me carry things, that's why I'm getting her water and fruit. Don't give her a hard time. Xiaoyu is a sensitive girl. If you act like this, she'll feel too embarrassed to accept my care today." I looked up at Wen Zichuan, handsome and youthful. No wonder I fell in love with him back then. Now, he showed none of the weariness that came after our marriage. His eyes filled only with fervent emotion. Unfortunately, that passionate feeling wasn't directed at me. Before I could even speak, just a slight change in my expression made Wen Zichuan worry that Wen Chuyue might be hurt. It's laughable how, in my past life, love blinded me so much that I couldn't see what was truly in his heart. Seeing that I remained silent, Wen Zichuan reached out impatiently to wipe away my tears. All right, stop making a fuss. Which one do you want to eat? I'll get it for you too, okay? His grip was strong, and I could feel a sharp, burning pain on my skin. This pain instantly stirred up my painful memories, and I reflexively pulled back. When Zichuan's hand hung awkwardly in the air. At that moment, Wen Chuyue approached with a pitiful look. Sister Chuyue, are you upset because of me? Between me and brother Zichuan, it's all in the past. If you mind. She bit her lower lip, reluctantly glanced at Wen Zichuan, and then shed a tear. Then I. Before she could finish her words, Wen Chuyue choked up and couldn't speak any further. Wen Zichuan, feeling a pang of heartache, gently wrapped his arm around her shoulder and carefully wiped away her tears, in a manner completely unlike the rough way he had just wiped mine. What nonsense are you talking? There's nothing improper between us. What's wrong with interacting openly and honestly? There's no need to avoid it. Then, when Zichuan turned to glare at me and said in a commanding tone, Bai Chuyue, apologize to Xiaoye. Yes, my name is Bai Chuyue, similar to Wen Chuyue's name. Not only that, but even our appearances bear some resemblance. Thinking back to the scene of Wen Chuyue and Wen Zichuan embracing and kissing each other just before my death in my previous life, I can't help but wonder, during the rare intimate moments in that life, when Wen Zichuan called out, Chuyue, was he actually referring to Wen Chuyue? Did he see me as a substitute for her? At this thought, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. My dry heave instantly darkened Wen Zichuan's face. Bai Chuyue, what do you mean by that? Wen Chuyue's expression grew even more unpleasant. She reached out to push away the arm Wen Zichuan had wrapped around her, but her movement was gentle. Instead, Wen Zichuan held her even tighter. Her cheeks flushed red, yet her eyes held an unmistakable hint of smugness. Sister Chuyue, please, don't be like this. Brother Zichuan and I really have nothing going on. Wen Chuyue, Wen Zichuan, and I were all classmates in the same year. However, she started school a year earlier, so she was a year younger than us, but there were also classmates in our class who were 2 or 3 years younger than us, and I never saw them going around calling everyone brother or sister. I swallowed the disgust rising in my throat and replied coldly, don't try to claim kinship so casually, and as for whether there's something between the two of you, you know it in your hearts. There's no need to put on an act in front of me. Upon hearing this, Wen Chuyue's eyes immediately reddened. She reached out to push Wen Zichuan again. Stay away from me, I don't want people gossiping behind my back. Wen Zichuan's brows furrowed tightly together, his arm wrapped around Wen Chuyue, motionless, as if he were her boyfriend, shielding her in his embrace. He looked at me with a cold expression. Bai Chuyue, must you be so unreasonable today? Chuyue has been accommodating you again and again, taking your feelings into consideration, and yet you deliberately target her. Don't you know how important a girl's reputation is? What do you mean by saying that? Or do you think that just because we're in a relationship, I can't have any friends of the opposite sex? Don't taint our relationship with your filthy thoughts. At that moment, Wen Zichuan's friends also stopped singing, looking at me with unfriendly eyes. Not to be rude, Bai Chuyue, but you're being a bit too much. It's only because our Zichuan has a good temper that he can put up with you. Exactly. Xiaoye has been our friend for 7 years. We've known each other since high school. Just because you're dating Zichuan doesn't mean you can forbid Xiaoye from hanging out with us, right? You knew all about their past before you started dating Zichuan. It's pointless to keep getting upset about it now. When Zichuan's friends had been very dissatisfied with me in my past life, and I only found out by accidentally overhearing them complaining about me to him. At that time, I was already severely burned all over my body and disfigured, so I didn't like going out or seeing people. But when Zichuan ignored my wishes and invited his friends over to drink at home, through the slightly open door, I could hear Wen Zichuan and his friends smoking and drinking. Someone mentioned Wen Chuyue, and then they began to belittle me. Zichuan, I really feel sorry for you. You're so outstanding, yet you ended up marrying someone who's a nightmare to even look at. You and Xiaoye are such a perfect match. Wen and Wen, even your surnames are so compatible. Honestly, I think Xiaoye got divorced for you. She often asks us privately how you're doing now. I can tell she still loves you. You're not really planning to spend your whole life with Bai Chuyue, are you? That face. Waking up to it in the morning would be a nightmare. By then, 3 years had passed since I was burned, and despite countless painful surgeries, my face remained a horrifying sight. I touched my rough, grating face with my left hand, missing 3 fingers, quietly waiting for Wen Zichuan's response. Wen Zichuan remained silent for a long time. In the unusually quiet living room, I could even hear the sound of him flicking cigarette ash. Finally, he sighed. After all, she saved me. Wen Zichuan's friend immediately retorted, but you don't have to repay her with your whole life, do you? You could just give her money for skin grafting and cosmetic surgery. There's no need to sacrifice your entire life. Every time I see the way Xiaoya looks at you, I feel it's such a pity that you let her go. You'll never meet another woman who loves you as much as she does. Didn't you start dating Bai Chuyue in the first place because she resembled Xiaoya? Hearing this, my breath caught sharply, and my heart twisted in intense pain. Was I just a substitute for Wen Chuyue? Now that her face is burned like this, there's not a trace of Xiaoya left in her. If anything, the only similarity is that their names are a bit alike. I really didn't expect back then that after Xiaoya found a boyfriend, Zichuan would turn around and bring back a Xiaoya 2.0, which really startled me. That's an insult to Xiaoya. She doesn't deserve the title of 2.0. She can't even compare to Xiaoya's toenails. When Zichuan's friends judged me from head to toe right in front of him, but when Zichuan acted as if he didn't hear it, just silently smoking, I felt as if my heart had shattered into pieces, and just when I thought this was the limit of my pain, I heard an even more unbearable truth. Alright, you all shouldn't go too far. After all, Bai Chuyue saved Zichuan. If it weren't for Xiaoya getting drunk and running to Zichuan's apartment, causing the fire, Bai Chuyue wouldn't have been burned like this trying to save him. Are you blaming Xiaoya? That's not what I mean, but you have to admit, if Xiaoya hadn't gotten drunk, threatening Zichuan with a wine bottle and a lighter to get back together immediately, the apartment wouldn't have caught fire. Enough. When Zichuan's impatient voice rang out, what's the point of saying all this now? Come on, let's drink. Tonight, we won't leave until we're drunk. I felt as if I had been plunged into an ice cellar. Could it be that the 3 years of hellish life I endured, with its bone-deep pain, were all just part of a game of reconciliation between these two lovebirds? From the unrestrained chatter of these drunks, I pieced together the truth of the matter. After dating for a year, Wen Chuyue broke up with Wen Zichuan because of a senior who had been pursuing her. Feeling humiliated by the breakup, Wen Zichuan immediately turned his attention to me. I was moved by Wen Zichuan's sincerity in pursuing me, so I agreed to be with him. However, Wen Zichuan, who was now in a relationship with someone else, reignited Wen Chuyue's desire to conquer him. She immediately broke up with her senior and turned her attention back to Wen Zichuan, flirting with him. Wen Zichuan was afraid that if he agreed to be with Wen Chuyue, she would abandon him again, so he used me to keep Wen Chuyue hooked, ensuring that her heart and mind remained fixated on him. Wen Chuyue was furious that Wen Zichuan refused to break up with me. On May 20th, she got drunk and went to find Wen Zichuan, threatening Wen Zichuan with a wine bottle and a lighter. She said that if he refused to get back together with her, she would light the bottle of wine in front of him. Unexpectedly, after being knocked to the ground by a flustered Wen Zichuan, the lighter suddenly exploded and actually ignited. The wine spilled all over the floor. The two of them, holding each other, didn't notice at first. It wasn't until the fire became uncontrollable that they hurriedly called 119 to put it out. Coincidentally, at that moment, I came to find Wen Zichuan with a carefully prepared 520 gift. After discovering that his apartment was on fire, I first called the firefighters, then wrapped myself in a wet blanket, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and rushed in to save Wen Zichuan. When I found Wen Zichuan, he and Wen Chuyue had already fled to the stairs on the second floor. I didn't have time to ask why Wen Chuyue was here, and instead focused on using the fire extinguisher to clear a path for them. However, Wen Zichuan took the fire extinguisher from me, saying he would lead the way, with Wen Chuyue following behind him. Since I had a blanket, he asked me to cover the rear, but when we reached the lobby on the first floor, the ceiling suddenly gave way and crashed down, and the fire from the second floor followed. At the front, Wen Zichuan was most likely to be hit. Wen Chuyue screamed and dodged to the side, leaving only Wen Zichuan, who hadn't noticed what was happening, still walking forward. So, disregarding my own safety, I rushed forward and pushed him away, but I ended up getting hit myself. When I woke up, I was already in the hospital. Wen Zichuan sat by my bedside with red eyes, earnestly telling me he loved me and would take care of me for the rest of my life. After being discharged from the hospital, we got married. We only registered our marriage without holding a wedding, because I didn't want to see anyone. Wen Zichuan nodded without hesitation and agreed. For 3 years after our marriage, aside from going to the hospital for treatment, I never once stepped out of the house. When Zichuan's attitude toward me gradually shifted from patience at the beginning to later using business engagements and work trips as excuses to stay out all night, that fire not only left me with severe burns all over my body, but also cost me my right hand. The remaining hand has only 2 fingers left, making it difficult for me to complete tasks that others consider simple without help, such as bathing or cooking. When Zichuan had originally hired a nanny to take care of me, but when Wen Chuyue came to visit our home and was frightened by my appearance, Wen Zichuan made an excuse to dismiss the nanny. At the time, he claimed that the nanny was disrespectful to Wen Chuyue and worried that she might be two-faced, neglecting my care behind his back, so he fired her. He said he would find a more suitable nanny for me, but until the day I died, I never saw him arrange for anyone to take care of me. Now that I think about it, it must have been because my appearance frightened Wen Chuyue, so he deliberately fired the nanny to get back at me. If someone had taken care of me, perhaps I wouldn't have died from a severe infection. I hadn't seen Wen Zichuan for half a year before my death. It wasn't until I mustered the last of my strength to call 120 that he finally came to see me for the last time at the hospital. After being notified, looking at me lying on the hospital bed, barely alive, Wen Zichuan visibly breathed a sigh of relief. You saved me, and I married you. We're even now, Chuyue. You've had a tough life this time around. I hope you'll have better luck in your next life. When Chuyue also came to the hospital with him, she wrapped her arm around Wen Zichuan's shoulder and looked at him with sympathy. Zichuan, you've sacrificed yourself for her for 3 years, marrying such a woman who is neither human nor ghost. You've done more than enough. Don't be sad anymore. For her sake, we had to keep our relationship secret for 3 years, unable to make it public. People who don't know the whole story might even think I'm the other woman. Wen Chuyue is quite something. She got married the same year as us, only divorced last year, and yet she's been in a secret relationship with Wen Zichuan for 3 years. Both of them are seasoned scoundrels. Wen Zichuan reached out and embraced Wen Chuyue, his eyes filled with heartache. You've suffered. I will make it up to you from now on. I wasn't even dead yet, and the 2 of them were already hugging and kissing right in front of my bed. I was so furious I could have grabbed a knife and hacked them to pieces. My fate in this life has been terrible, and the worst part of it all was meeting those 2 despicable people. Finally, I think I was literally angered to death by the 2 of them. At this thought, the hatred in my eyes grew even stronger. I stood up directly, picked up the wine glass beside me, and splashed it in Wen Zichuan's face. Wen Zichuan, are you dead? Your friends are important, so your girlfriend can be casually accused and insulted, right? I think anyone who becomes your girlfriend is cursed for 8 lifetimes. We're breaking up. Return the 500,000 yuan you borrowed from me immediately. Last month, when Zichuan said he wanted to start a business and borrowed the 500,000 yuan I had saved up from writing novels since high school, he once promised that if the business succeeded, he would give me some shares. In my previous life, when he truly succeeded in his business, he never mentioned this matter at all. Even my later medical expenses and living costs were covered by the subsequent income from my novels, but this money was not enough to hire a nanny to take care of me. When I mentioned money, Wen Zichuan, who had initially looked indifferent upon hearing about the breakup, immediately darkened his expression. By Chuyue, my patience has its limits. When Chuyue accused, by Chuyue, do you know that using money to control a man is the stupidest thing? Zichuan is your boyfriend, and you didn't leave him any face in front of so many people. You're going too far. When Zichuan's friends also joined in to criticize me, by Chuyue, do you have a heart? Zichuan has been so good to you, and you actually humiliated him in public. Actually, I'm starting to doubt whether you really love Azusagawa. I cut them off directly. Being good to me. Give me one example. An eerie silence fell over the private room. I sneered. Can't come up with any. Don't you feel guilty when you say he loves me? Since you're all so eager to defend Wen Zichuan, I suppose you'd be more than happy to help him repay the 500,000 yuan he owes me. At the mention of money, everyone fell even more silent. Only Wen Chuyue's eyes were filled with resentment toward me, who in a relationship keeps talking about money all the time. By Chuyue, you gave that money to Zichuan willingly back then. Now that it's all invested in the company, you're suddenly asking for it back. Isn't that just making things difficult for him on purpose? When Zichuan sighed softly, I know you were wrong today. Let me apologize on everyone's behalf. Okay, they were just speaking out of urgency and said the wrong things. When Zichuan stood up and took my hand, guiding me back to sit on the sofa. Don't you like pistachios? sit still, and I'll peel them for you, okay? I didn't resist, obediently sitting down as he fed me pistachios, and I even shot a smug glance at Wen Chuyue. It suddenly occurred to me, if I break up with Wen Zichuan now, will the fire still happen the day after tomorrow? I need to make sure that fire happens as scheduled. I want Wen Zichuan to experience the suffering I endured in my past life, so now, not only can I not break up with Wen Zichuan, but I also need to provoke Wen Chuyue into going to the apartment to find him again. Wen Chuyue's face immediately darkened. She stood up, wiped away her tears, and ran off. Wen Zichuan immediately stood up, wanting to chase after her. I coughed and looked at him coldly. Where are you going? Wen Zichuan anxiously glanced toward the door but didn't dare take another step forward. Xiaoya is sensitive, I'm afraid something might happen to her. I nodded indifferently. Fine, go ahead and chase her, but before you step out that door, give me back the money first. Once we break up and settle things, you can chase whoever you want. Money, 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 money. Wen Zichuan exploded. Is money all you care about? I never realized before that you were such a materialistic woman. Wen Zichuan looked at me with disappointment. You've changed, you were never this materialistic before, but now every word out of your mouth is about money. I refuse to accept Wen Zichuan's emotional manipulation. Haven't you changed too? The man who once claimed he wanted to start his own business now wants to live off someone else. When you were pursuing me, you said you would only love me and keep your distance from other women, but what happened? I've never seen a boyfriend who would abandon his girlfriend to take care of his so-called female friend. When I initially scolded Wen Zichuan for being a freeloader, his face turned frighteningly dark, but when I brought up his care for Wen Chuyue again at the end, his anger was instantly replaced by smugness. He thought I was just being unreasonable out of jealousy. Wen Zichuan looked at me helplessly. Chuyue, how many times do I have to explain? My relationship with Xiaoya is purely sibling-like, please. Stop being jealous for no reason. Okay, I couldn't break up with Wen Zichuan just yet, so I took the opportunity to step down, muttering, fine, I'll believe you one more time. The smugness in Wen Zichuan's eyes grew even stronger. Let me take you back to school first. We are now in our senior year, with just 1 month left until graduation. Originally, I planned to use the 500,000 yuan after graduation to decide on a location to buy a house based on where I would be working, so I am still living in the dormitory. After we left the private room, through the slightly ajar door, I heard the previously silent room start criticizing me again. TSK, she was just talking so righteously, but as soon as Zichuan said something, she obediently gave in. With her personality, she'll definitely get dumped sooner or later. Xiao Yu is still the gentle and lovely one that everyone adores, not a shred of backbone. I bet every bone in their body is soft. They knew I could hear them. They were deliberately saying it for my ears. I could hear it, and of course, Wen Zichuan beside me could hear it too, but he acted as if he hadn't heard a thing, continuing to walk ahead on his own. After escorting me back to the dormitory, Wen Zichuan turned and left without a word, probably in a hurry to find Wen Chuyue. Late at night, my phone received a photo from Wen Chuyue showing Wen Zichuan lying shirtless on a hotel bed. Soon after, Wen Chuyue withdrew the message. She wouldn't let such a thing tarnish the innocent, harmless image she had carefully cultivated, but I didn't care about any of this. After all, she wouldn't be able to act up for much longer. However, to provoke her, on the 19th, I deliberately clung to Wen Zichuan, making him run errands to buy things for me, feeding me, and then casting a smug, challenging look at Wen Chuyue, who had been following us around. Even though Wen Zichuan could tell I was doing it on purpose, he enjoyed watching two women vie for his affection, especially since my actions could provoke Wen Chuyue into becoming even more dependent on him. As a result, he became all the more compliant with me. I held on to Wen Zichuan's arm, acting coquettishly. Zichuan, tomorrow is May 20th. How about we spend it at your place? You can prepare a candlelit dinner just for the two of us, and I'll give you a big gift. After saying that, I winked at Wen Zichuan. Wen Chuyue, sitting nearby, had her face twisted in anger, and she hissed through gritted teeth, shameless. I pretended to be confused and looked up at her. What did you say? Wen Chuyue curled her lips. I said you two have such a good relationship. I smiled and accepted Wen Chuyue's praise. Xiaoya, you too, you shouldn't give up on love just because you met one scumbag. It's time for you to find a boyfriend. As soon as I said this, Wen Zichuan was the first to object. Xiaoya is still young, there's no rush. Don't give her bad advice. Hearing Wen Zichuan say this, Wen Chuyue smiled sweetly. I watched coldly as the two of them exchanged flirtatious glances. hoping only that they would still be able to smile after tomorrow night. On the day of May 20th, I still stuck to Wen Zichuan like glue, not leaving his side for a moment. I could tell that as the evening drew closer, Wen Zichuan grew more and more anxious, probably trying to think of an excuse to get rid of me, so I set an alarm, pretending I had something to do, and left on my own. I hid not far from Wen Zichuan's apartment, and seeing Wen Chuyue enter with wine in hand, I finally felt at ease. This accident would not change because of my rebirth, since Wen Zichuan was starting a business. The apartment he rented was a 3-story old building over 30 years old, located far in the suburbs, but it was very close to the factory he intended to rent, because the rent was cheap. Wen Zichuan directly rented all 6 units in the entire building as employee dormitories. When the fire broke out, his employees were all working overtime at the factory and hadn't returned yet, so in that previous life's fire, I was the only victim. I didn't see anyone else enter the apartment until Wen Zichuan's room caught fire, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I wanted Wen Zichuan to return to the fate he was meant to follow, but I didn't want to cause others to suffer. This time, without my help, Wen Zichuan was sent to the hospital with severe burns all over his body. He, like me in my previous life, lost his right hand and 3 fingers of his left hand. When Zichuan's friend came running to me, pointing at my nose and angrily shouting, "Bai Chuyue, have you no conscience? Zichuan is lying in the hospital so badly injured, and you haven't even gone to see him. Bai Chuyue, I never thought you were this kind of person. When Zichuan was fine, you clung to him, but now that he's injured, you're hiding far away." I sneered. "So now that Wen Zichuan is injured, you remember me, weren't you? Always saying I wasn't good enough for him. Why don't you go find Wen Chuyue? Didn't you say she and Wen Zichuan were a match made in heaven? What? Now that Wen Zichuan is disfigured and disabled, the kind and innocent Xiaoyu is going to abandon him. When Wen Zichuan and I were in love, the pure and innocent Xiaoyu always had time to follow us around. Could it be that she suddenly has no time after Wen Zichuan got injured?" The few people were left speechless by my words. After uttering, "You're ruthless," they turned and left. I snorted coldly, ignoring the surrounding classmates who were whispering and gossiping about me, and also left the place. These opportunistic scoundrels still want to morally blackmail me. What a bunch of hypocrites who fawn over the powerful and bully the weak. Don't be fooled by their current righteous defense of Wen Zichuan. Once they see him truly down and out, they'll be the first to turn against him. However, I still went to the hospital, not to see Wen Zichuan, but to collect a debt. Wen Zichuan was wrapped in bandages from head to toe, his eyes vacant as he stared blankly at the ceiling. When he saw me arrive, his eyes finally lit up. "Chuyue, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for so long." I had no patience to listen to his weak, faltering nonsense. The familiar, pungent smell of medicine made my body ache with phantom pain again. I was extremely irritated and cut him off directly. "You waited for me, what for? Shouldn't you be expecting Wen Chuyue to take care of you? After all, you spent your 520 night with her." When Zichuan's pupils trembled in shock, "You saw that. Xiaoye came to get back together with me, but I didn't agree. Making out with her by the window counts as not agreeing." I wouldn't dare believe that even if you said it. I grew more and more agitated. "Enough, no more nonsense. Give me back my 500,000 yuan, and we'll be even. Do whatever you want after that." When Zichuan looked hurt and pained, "They told me before that you were a gold digger, only willing to share wealth but not hardship, and I didn't believe it. But now, as soon as I got injured, you couldn't wait to break up." "Stop." I looked at him coldly. "Don't play the moral blackmail card. I'm not buying it. Pay me back." When Zichuan let out a painful groan, and then his expression changed. He looked at himself in surprise, then stared at me in shock. "Bai Chuyue, where are your scars? How did your hands heal? Why am I the one lying in the hospital bed?" When Zichuan had also been reborn, I laughed, feeling the phantom pains on my body begin to ease. "Why shouldn't it be you? You betrayed me and secretly met Wen Chuyue in the apartment. This is your fate." When Zichuan was incredulous. "But, didn't you push me away?" Then his eyes widened. "You've also been reborn." I curled my lips into a smirk. "Did the fire burn your brain? What nonsense are you talking about? Reborn or not? Don't think you can play dumb and avoid paying back the money." When Zichuan doesn't know yet that the most painful part isn't the pain of waking up in the hospital, nor the disappointment of not recovering after each treatment, nor the strange looks from others, nor the helplessness of not being able to do even the simplest things in life. He should savor each of these hopes one by one. When Zichuan still doesn't believe I could be so heartless. "I'm still in the hospital, and you're asking me for money. In our past life, After you were burned, I married you. I frowned. Did the fire burn your sanity? What past life? If you don't pay back the money, I'll call all your friends and family and have them pool together to pay me back. I'll pay for my son." The parents of Wen Zichuan, who had just arrived, glared at me with disgust upon hearing my words. "How much is it? I'll pay. I told you long ago that this kind of woman is rotten to the core, but you wouldn't believe me and insisted on dating her." I didn't care at all about what Wen Zichuan's parents thought of me. They had disliked me in my past life, firmly opposing Wen Zichuan's decision to marry me. After the wedding, whenever they were the slightest bit unhappy, they would come and vent their anger on me. Right now, all I want is to get my money back. Wen Zichuan's mother transferred 500,000 to me, and I returned the IOU that I had Wen Zichuan write a couple of days ago to them. After leaving the hospital, I stopped paying attention to Wen Zichuan's affairs, but some classmates would intentionally bring him up in my presence, so I learned that after Wen Zichuan was discharged from the hospital, he married Wen Chuyue. Speaking of this, someone in the crowd looked at me with disdain, loudly praising Wen Chuyue's kindness and the sacred love between them. I didn't care about any of this at all. Once I got my graduation certificate, I would leave this city and have no further contact with them. Let them think whatever they wanted. Half a year later, I suddenly saw news about Wen Zichuan and Wen Chuyue again. Wen Chuyue's face was pixelated, but I recognized her at a glance. There were still large splatters of blood on her body. She shouted at the top of her lungs, "He forced me to do it. He forced me to kill him. He kept saying he was in pain every day, hitting and cursing at me, saying all the suffering was my fault. He even wanted to set me on fire. He wanted to turn me into a monster like him. I had no choice. I had to kill him first." When Zichuan's mother was being held back, desperately trying to rush forward to attack Wen Chuyue, shouting, "Give me back my son, you poisonous woman, give me back my son." After Wen Chuyue was imprisoned, netizens dug up more details about the case. It was said that there was more to the story. Wen Chuyue had been involved with Wen Zichuan's friends, and after being discovered, they conspired to silence her, unexpectedly. When Zichuan's parents arrived unexpectedly and witnessed everything, I stretched and looked out the window at the sunny weather, wondering if I should find a friend to have a hot pot meal to celebrate. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story,